The afternoon breeze carried the faint laughter of children playing in the distance, but Maya Elahi barely heard it. For the first time in weeks, she had an hour to herself. No tutoring, no errands, no double shifts at the after-school center. She sank onto a sun-warmed park bench, pulled off her sandals, and let the grass cool her tired feet. Maya wasn't supposed to be here today. A rescheduled class had given her this rare sliver of freedom. She closed her eyes, let her shoulders drop, and listened to the wind. That's when she heard it, a soft, choked sob. Opening her eyes, she scanned the playground and saw him. A small boy, maybe 6 years old, sitting alone near the slide. His shirt was too big, his face blotchy from crying, and his shoelaces dragged along the dirt. No parent in sight. Maya's instincts kicked in. She stood, walked over slowly, careful not to scare him. "Hey there," she said gently, crouching a few feet away. "Are you okay?" The boy looked up, eyes wide with fear and tears. "I lost my dad." What she didn't know was that comforting this child would lead her into a world of secrets, wealth, and an unexpected future. The boy stared at her, breathing unevenly. His bottom lip trembled. Maya felt her chest tighten. She knew that look. It was fear dressed up as silence, the kind that spoke volumes to anyone willing to listen. She dropped to one knee but didn't move any closer. "My name's Maya," she said gently. "Can you tell me yours?" He hesitated, eyes flickering to the trees as if his father might suddenly appear. "Tariq," he whispered. "That's a strong name," she said with a smile. "How old are you, Tariq?" "6. "Okay, 6 is a good age. Do you remember what your dad was wearing, or where you last saw him?" Tariq nodded but didn't speak. Maya could tell he was too overwhelmed to explain. She scanned the area again. No adults were rushing around calling a name, no security guard or parent in sight. The park wasn't empty, but it was big enough that someone could lose a child and not realize it until they'd walked out of view. "Would it be okay if I stayed with you until your dad comes back?" Maya asked. He nodded again, more quickly this time. She smiled and sat cross-legged beside him. "Your shoelaces are coming undone. Mind if I fix them?" Again he nodded. As she tied his sneakers, she kept her tone light. "So, what's your favorite dinosaur?" He blinked as if surprised by the question. "Triceratops." "Ooh, solid pick. I'm a velociraptor girl myself." She grinned. "Fast and smart, dangerous in a group." Tariq let out a small laugh. It was fragile, but it was real. "Hey," she whispered dramatically, pointing to the bushes. "See that squirrel?" He looked. A fat squirrel was perched awkwardly on a low branch, nibbling something. "That's not just any squirrel," Maya said seriously. "That's part of the secret rodent intelligence agency. They're everywhere, always watching." Tariq giggled. "That's not real." "Oh, it's very real," Maya replied with exaggerated mystery. "They monitor the parks, especially the swings. That one over there, total informant." They were deep in a made-up spy game when she heard the hurried footsteps behind them. A mant, all lean, visibly panicked, was sprinting toward them, scanning the area frantically. "Tariq," the man called, voice breaking. Tariq jumped up. "Daddy?" The boy ran toward him, throwing his arms around the man's waist. The stranger scooped him up, clutching him as if he might disappear again. His chest heaved as he whispered into the boy's hair, "I was right here. I just looked away for a second." Maya stood up, brushing grass from her skirt. The man looked at her over Tariq's shoulder, surprised. "Hi," she said with a soft smile. He was scared. "I just stayed with him until you came." The man slowly set Tariq down and took a step forward, hand on his son's shoulder. "Thank you. I thought I lost him." "It happens," she said, keeping her voice calm. "Parks can be chaotic. I'm glad you found him." He studied her for a moment. His eyes were striking, storm gray, clear but clouded with worry. There was something careful in the way he looked at her, like someone used to analyzing people before trusting them. Tariq tugged his dad's shirt. "She made up a squirrel spy story, and she tied my shoes." The man's tension softened. "You're very kind. Most people would have just kept walking." "I'm a teacher," Maya said with a shrug. "Kids are kind of my thing." The man extended his hand. "I'm Zayan." She hesitated before shaking it. His grip was warm, steady, something about his touch felt intentional. "Nice to meet you," she said. "Maya." Zayan's eyes flicked to her satchel, the edge of a book poking out. "Teacher, huh? 3rd grade. I also tutor in the evenings. Keeps me out of trouble," she said with a half smile. Tarek piped up again. "Can we get ice cream now, Daddy?" Zayan looked hesitant. "Maybe if Maya wants to join us." Maya blinked. "That was fast. I mean," he added quickly as a thank you, "it's just around the corner." She opened her mouth to politely decline. This wasn't normal, and she didn't go for spontaneous invites from strangers. But Tarek looked up at her with those hopeful eyes. She sighed. "Okay, but only if they have mango flavor." Tarek cheered. The ice cream shop was small and cozy, with pastel walls and the faint smell of fresh cones in the air. They sat near the window, Tarek working on a mountain of sprinkles, while Maya sipped her mango milkshake. "So you live nearby?" Zayan asked. "About 15 minutes walk. And you?" Zayan paused. "We're staying nearby for a bit. I work remotely." "Oh, what do you do?" "Tech stuff," he said vaguely. "Software design, cybersecurity, mostly back-end systems." Maya tilted her head. "Sounds impressive." He smiled, but there was something unreadable behind it. "And you?" he asked. "Why teaching?" "It's not glamorous," she said, stirring her milkshake. "But it's important. Kids need people who believe in them. I was one of those kids once." Zayan nodded slowly, watching her with an intensity that made her feel seen. Really seen? She felt her cheeks flush. She wasn't used to that. When they finished their ice cream, Zayan stood and reached into his wallet to pay. As he did, a thick card fell out, black with gold edges. She only caught a glimpse, but it wasn't a bank card. It looked custom. He noticed her glance and quickly picked it up, sliding it back without a word. They walked out into the fading afternoon light. The park was quieter now. "Thank you again," Zayan said, "for what you did for Tarek." "It was nothing," Maya said. "Any decent person would have done the same." He looked at her. "That's the thing, most wouldn't." They stood there for a beat too long. Tarek tugged her hand. "Will you come back to the park tomorrow? We can look for squirrel spies again." Maya chuckled. "Maybe, if I survive my tutoring sessions." "Promise?" he asked. "I never make promises I'm not sure I can keep," she said honestly, "but I'll try." She turned to Zayan. "Nice meeting you both." As she walked away, she could feel his eyes still on her. She had no idea that Zayan was more than just a tech guy, or that Tarek's last name wasn't even the one he gave. But everything was about to change. The next time she saw them, a headline would threaten everything she thought she understood about who they were. Maya didn't usually think twice about encounters with strangers. She'd spent years learning to guard her time, her energy, her emotions. Life as a public school teacher, part-time tutor, and full-time caregiver to her younger brother left little space for unexpected detours. But that night her thoughts kept drifting back to the little boy with the dinosaur shirt, and to the man with the guarded eyes and expensive manners. She didn't want to overthink it, and yet there was something about Zayan. Something unspoken. He'd been polite, grateful, but beneath his charm there had been tension. Like he was constantly watching the room, like he was used to being hunted. And that card, the one with gold edges and no logo. She shook her head and forced herself to focus on lesson plans. But when Thursday afternoon arrived, Maya found herself drifting back to the park. Just for a walk, she told herself, just to clear her head before tutoring. She wasn't sure why her heart fluttered a little when she saw Tarek sitting on the swing again. "You came?" Tarek ran toward her like a puppy spotting its owner after a long day. "I told Daddy you might." Maya grinned. "Hey, buddy, no spy squirrel sightings today." He nodded solemnly. "One tried to steal my sandwich. Classic behavior." Maya whispered dramatically. "We'll need to alert the squirrel patrol." Zayan appeared a moment later, holding a takeaway coffee in each hand. "Thought you might stop by," he said, offering one to her. Hazelnut, no sugar, just milk. She blinked. You remembered? You mentioned it in passing. She accepted it with a nod. You always this good at details. Zayn's smile didn't reach his eyes. It's part of the job. What job exactly? She asked casually. He took a sip of his own coffee. I consult with global clients on digital infrastructure, privacy, encryption, surveillance prevention. Maya raised an eyebrow. So, you're like a tech ghostbuster, something like that, he said with a dry chuckle, except instead of ghosts, I deal with people who want to steal secrets or track you without your permission. Sounds intense. It can be, he admitted. Which is why I appreciate moments like this. Maya studied him. He was different today, looser, less guarded, but still, something felt just out of reach. Do you always travel with your son? She asked. Mostly, he said. He's safer with me. It was such an odd response that Maya paused. Safer? Zayn looked away, clearly regretting his words. She didn't push, not yet. Instead, she sat on the bench while Tariq tried to climb the jungle gym. Zayn sat beside her. I hope I didn't overstep, he said quietly, with the coffee, with inviting you again. Maya shook her head. No, I just don't usually do this. Sit in parks with mysterious men and their charming children. Then I'll try to be less mysterious, he said. Maya smiled, but a chill ran through her, because sometimes people stayed mysterious for a reason. The next time they met at the park, Saturday morning, Maya brought a book of riddles for Tariq and watched him challenge his dad with fierce concentration. Zayn was more relaxed, laughing, even letting Tariq smear ice cream on his nose. It was domestic, strangely intimate, and Maya felt herself sliding into something dangerous, something warm. She couldn't deny it. She liked them. Both of them. She liked Zayn's quiet focus, the way he watched people before speaking, the way he asked her questions and actually listened, and she liked Tariq's honesty, his endless imagination and unfiltered delight. For the first time in years, she found herself looking forward to something that wasn't tied to survival. But then came the whisper that changed everything. It started with her best friend, Sarah. Hey, Sarah said over coffee the following Monday. Do you remember that guy you mentioned, Zayn? Yeah. Sarah lowered her voice. I think I saw him on a finance blog. Like a billionaire investor who vanished after selling his company. Maya frowned. You're joking. No, I swear, the picture wasn't clear, but it looked just like him. Same eyes, same face. He was called Zayn Mirza. Does that name ring a bell? Maya froze. That last name, Mirza. She had heard it before in headlines in news segments, but years ago. Zayn Mirza, founder of CipherX, a cybersecurity empire, sold his company for over $3.5 billion, then disappeared from the public eye following a contentious divorce, citing family privacy and security concerns. And now a man named Zayn with a tech background, a hidden past, and a son was meeting her at a public park. No way, that would be insane, right? She went home that evening, pulled out her old laptop and searched. The results hit her like a wave, photo after photo, Zayn in business suits, Zayn on Forbes, Zayn at tech conferences, and one photo, blurry, low quality, but unmistakable, of Zayn holding a small child at an airport, looking over his shoulder like he expected to be followed. Maya sat back, stunned. What had she gotten herself into? Maya couldn't sleep that night. The articles, the photos, the name Zayn Mirza, a man who vanished from the public spotlight after building one of the most powerful cybersecurity firms in the world. She remembered reading about him during her college years, the boy genius from Karachi who coded firewalls at age 13, the man who launched CipherX from a London flat and sold it for billions. And then silence. Vanished, just, gone. Now here he was, eating ice cream with his son, laughing at her jokes about squirrel spies, offering her hazelnut coffee in the park. Why? Why would a man like that disappear? And why would he befriend her, a woman who lived paycheck to paycheck, juggling students, rent, and her brother's medical appointments? The next morning, she didn't go to the park. Instead, she called in sick, pulled on a hoodie, and took the train downtown to the business district. If anyone would know something, it would be Adil. Adil Ahmed was an old college friend, now a tech analyst with contacts in every company that mattered. They hadn't spoken in over a year, but when she messaged him, "I need to talk urgent," he agreed without question. Over coffee, she showed him the photos on her phone. Adil's brow furrowed. "Where did you get these?" "He's been bringing his kid to the park. I didn't know who he was at first." Adil leaned forward. "That's definitely Zayn Mirza. The tech world hasn't seen him in 3 years. Last I heard, he'd gone completely off grid, fired his PR firm, sold off most of his public assets, hired private security." "Why?" Adil lowered his voice. "His ex-wife, she tried to sell access to their son. Paparazzi, tabloids, leaks. It got messy fast. Zayn basically disappeared to protect the kid. Some say he's in hiding." Maya sat back. "So he's not just some guy in tech." "He's the guy in tech," Adil said. "Paranoid, brilliant, and filthy rich." Maya's throat went dry. "And now he's back?" Adil asked, narrowing his eyes. "Why, and why with you?" "I don't know," she said truthfully, "but I'm starting to wonder if I walked into something I'm not ready for." That evening, Maya didn't go to the park. And the next evening, she didn't either. But she couldn't avoid them forever. And when her tutoring client cancelled Thursday afternoon, her feet took her there before her brain could protest. She spotted them instantly. Tariq was on the jungle gym, shouting "spy alert," while Zayn stood nearby, scanning the park with his usual quiet intensity. When he saw her, relief passed across his face like the sun breaking through clouds. "You're here," he said, stepping toward her. "I have questions," she said softly. He nodded. "I figured you might." They sat on their usual bench. The distance between them felt wider than ever. "You're not just a software guy, are you?" Maya asked. Zayn didn't pretend. He exhaled and stared at the ground. "No, I'm not." "Your real name is Zayn Mirza." He nodded. "You were the founder of Cypher X." Another nod. She let the silence hang for a beat. "Why lie?" "I didn't lie," he said quietly. "I withheld. There's a difference." "To what end?" He looked at her, then really looked. "Because I liked being around someone who didn't know me from a magazine cover. Someone who didn't see dollar signs. You treated me like a person, not a project." Maya folded her arms. "So you just happened to meet me, or did you plan this?" Zayn shook his head. "It was a coincidence, I swear. I lost track of Tariq for 2 minutes and found him talking to you, and you were kind, steady. You made him laugh when he was scared. I hadn't seen that in months." Maya's anger softened, but the tension still lingered. Why come back? Why risk being recognized? "I didn't plan on staying long," he admitted, "but then we kept coming to the park, and you were there, and it felt normal. I haven't had normal in years." "Normal," Maya repeated. "Zayn, your life isn't normal. You live in hiding. You have security watching your every move. You're a billionaire." "I'm also a father," he said quietly, "and Tariq needs someone like you in his life." That stopped her. "What do you mean?" she asked. "He's drawn to you. You calm him, challenge him, see him." He met her eyes, "And I am too." Maya's heart thudded. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said, "but it did. And now I can't stop thinking about you. I know it's complicated. I know I come with baggage." "That's an understatement," she muttered. Zayn half laughed. "I'll take that." She stood. "I need time." He nodded. "Take it." As she turned to go, Tariq ran over and hugged her leg. "You're leaving again?" She bent down and looked him in the eye. "I'll be back." It was a promise this time, and she meant it. Saturday morning started like any other. Maya was at her kitchen table grading papers when her phone buzzed. It was a text from her friend Sarah. "You're trending. Check Twitter." Now Maya frowned, then her phone buzzed again and again. Notifications poured in, messages, missed calls, screenshots, DM from numbers she didn't recognize. Her heart pounded as she clicked on the link Sarah had sent. A grainy photo loaded, her and Zayn at the park, sitting on the bench. Tariq mid-laugh, Zayn leaning toward her, his expression open, his hand lightly brushing hers. The caption read, "Reclusive billionaire Zayn Mirza spotted with mystery woman and child at public park." Her stomach dropped. She scrolled further. Comments, retweets, captions, speculations. Is this the woman who brought Zayn out of hiding? Sources say the teacher is based in Karachi. Ordinary teacher plus tech mogul equals new power couple. It was surreal. She felt like someone had dragged her life into a circus tent without asking. Her phone buzzed again, unknown number. She didn't answer. Instead, she locked her phone, grabbed her coat, and headed to the only place she could think of, the park. Zayn was already there, standing near the swing set, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. She marched straight toward him. What the hell is happening? He didn't look surprised. Someone followed us, probably a freelancer looking for tabloid money. I didn't think they'd find us here. Well, they did. Maya snapped. My name is everywhere, my job, my photo. People from my school are messaging me. Parents, I know. Zayn said, calm but taut, I'm handling it. Handling it? She repeated, voice rising. I'm not built for this, Zayn. I didn't sign up to be a trending topic. He winced, neither did I. They stood in silence, the wind rattling the leaves. Tariq ran over, holding a rock. Look. I found one with sparkles in it. Maya forced a smile. Wow, very shiny. He dashed away again. Zayn lowered his voice. I'll call my lawyer. We can have the images taken down or threaten to sue. And what about the damage already done? Maya asked. People think I'm after your money, that I manipulated you. Zayn looked at her, something raw in his expression. Do you think that matters to me? It matters to me, she said sharply. Then, more quietly, I've spent my entire life building something small but stable. And now it's unraveling. Zayn reached for her hand. Let me help. She pulled away. You are the problem. His face tightened. I need space, Maya whispered. Time to think. She didn't wait for him to respond. She turned and walked away, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. By Monday, story had gone global. News blogs picked it up. Morning talk shows ran speculative pieces. Photos of her and Zayn were everywhere. Worse, someone had leaked her full name, and the school took notice. Her principal, Ms. Habiba, called her in for a conversation. You're not in trouble, Habiba said gently, hands folded on the desk. But this. Attention is unsettling. Parents are nervous. Some are worried about photographers showing up near their children. Maya swallowed hard. I understand. You're a fantastic teacher, Maya. Everyone knows that. But perhaps some time off, personal leave, might give this a chance to blow over. It was phrased kindly, but Maya knew what it was. She was being asked to disappear, at least for a while. That night, she sat in her apartment in silence. She didn't answer Zayn's texts, didn't check the news. She thought about her life before that day at the park. Simple, predictable, and lonely. By Friday, she had blocked off every communication line except her brother Samir. Even he had questions. So, he's actually a billionaire. Yup, and you didn't know, Maya sighed. I knew something was off, but no, I didn't know. Samir whistled. You don't do anything halfway, huh? She laughed weakly. Do you love him? He asked quietly. Maya blinked. That is the question. He said, the only one that matters. Then came the letter, delivered by hand. A woman in a black coat knocked at her door, handed her a cream-colored envelope, and disappeared without a word. Inside was Zayn's handwriting. Maya, I never meant for you to get caught in this storm. You didn't ask for any of it. You just sat with my son on a swing and gave him safety, and gave me something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I know I've complicated your life. I'd undo that if I could, but I can't. All I can do is be honest. I want you in our lives, not because it's dramatic or glamorous, but because when we're with you it feels like home. If you can still trust me, meet me at the park tomorrow, noon. No cameras, I promise, just me, just us. She stared at the letter for a long time. Something about it, its simplicity, its vulnerability, reached her. She folded it carefully, and the next day, as noon approached, she dressed in the same yellow top she'd worn the first day she met him. The park was nearly empty, but Zayn was there. No security, no press, just him, sitting on their usual bench. When he saw her, he stood immediately, nervous, hopeful. Maya walked toward him, stopping just a few feet away. I can't promise to be okay with your world, she said softly, but I miss ours. Zayn exhaled slowly. So do I. Tarek peeked out from behind a tree, grinning. "Can I come now?" he shouted. Maya smiled. "Yes, buddy. Come here." Tarek ran into her arms, and just like that, something broken inside her began to heal. Maya didn't say much during that first hour at the park. Neither did Zayn. They sat side by side while Tarek climbed monkey bars and narrated an epic squirrel invasion in full detail. It was strangely peaceful, but an invisible thread of tension still lingered between them, not angry, just fragile. Zayn didn't try to fill the silence. He handed her a thermos of chai, the kind she liked, perfectly spiced, slightly sweet. She took it without speaking. "I meant what I wrote," he said quietly. She nodded. "But I also know that words aren't enough." Maya sipped her chai and finally spoke. "This past week I couldn't sleep, couldn't walk outside without wondering who was watching. I was terrified I'd show up on some gossip site next to a photoshopped headline." "I know," he said, "and I'm sorry. I lost my students," she added, "at least for now." Zayn flinched. "I didn't think it would get that far." "You didn't think at all," Maya said, not cruelly, just honestly. "You wanted normal so badly you borrowed mine, forgetting how easily it could break." He looked away. "That's fair." She turned toward him. "You live in a world I don't understand. Security teams, private wealth, NDA agreements. I'm a school teacher who lives 2 blocks from a leaking bakery." Zayn laughed, but it was tinged with sadness. "And still," Maya continued, "you keep showing up in parks, buying ice cream, pretending to be someone else." He was quiet for a moment. "Because I wanted to feel human again." That silenced her. Zayn looked out toward the trees. "For the past 3 years I've lived like a ghost, hiding from people who wanted my name, my money, my son's face. You were the first person who saw me without seeing any of that. You were real, and now," he turned to her, "now I'm trying to be brave enough to live in your world." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You want to move into a 3rd floor walk-up and yell at teenagers to get off your stoop?" "If that's what it takes," he said, serious. She laughed despite herself, then paused. "What about your company?" "I sold it," he said. "What?" "Well, most of it. I still own a stake, but I stepped away after the divorce. Gave control to the board. I'm not chasing headlines anymore." "And your ex-wife?" Maya asked cautiously. Zayn's expression darkened. "She's complicated. Fame matters more to her than Tarek ever did. We tried co-parenting. She preferred luxury resorts. I offered a settlement for full custody. She took it." Maya frowned. "That's awful." "It was also the only way to protect him," Zayn said, eyes scanning the playground. Every photo of him was monetized. He became a brand before he could write his own name. Maya thought about Tarek's laugh, his love of dinosaurs, the way he clung to his dad. "I get it now," she said softly. Zayn looked at her hopeful. "I don't like it," she added, "but I get it." They left the park together that day, quiet, cautious, but a step closer. Over the next week, Maya found herself visiting Zayn's temporary apartment, still in the same neighborhood, but with blackout curtains, coded entry, and 2 plainclothes bodyguards she hadn't noticed the first time. "It's a fortress," she whispered the first time she stepped inside. "Temporary," he said. "We've been moving every 6 months. For security," he nodded. "Tarek deserves peace. I can't give him stability if we're being watched all the time." "But this isn't stability either," she said. "It's just survival." Zayn paused, then handed her a folder. Inside were listings. Simple homes, normal neighborhoods, far from media hotspots. "I've been searching," he said. "Something different, something quieter, somewhere we can be real." Maya blinked. "You're moving. If you'll come with us." She froze. "I'm not asking today," he added quickly, "or tomorrow. But I want you to know I'm serious. I'm not trying to date in secret or live a double life. I'm trying to build something." Maya opened one of the listings, a two-story house, blue shutters, wrap-around porch, close to her school. It didn't look like a billionaire's mansion. It looked like home. That weekend, Maya made the choice she'd been avoiding. She went to her principal's office. With her head held high, "I want to come back," she said simply. Principal Habiba looked uncertain. "There's still chatter, Maya. There will always be chatter," Maya said. But my work is here, my students are here. And I'm not ashamed of who I care about. After a pause, Habiba sighed and smiled. Your students miss you. That night, Zayn picked her up in his car, an understated sedan that still had the smell of new leather and quiet money. They didn't go to a 5-star restaurant. They went to a tiny cafe tucked behind a bookstore. No one stared. No one snapped photos. Over a shared slice of chocolate cake, Zayn reached across the table. I have one more surprise, he said. She narrowed her eyes. If it's a yacht, I swear, he laughed. It's not. Come with me? They drove to the edge of the city, a quiet street. Street lamps, crickets, a tree swing in a front yard. He parked in front of a modest but beautiful house. I made an offer, he said. It was accepted. Maya stared. It's perfect, and there's a guest suite for your brother or your mom or anyone. She turned to him slowly. You're doing all this for me? I'm doing this for us, he said, but only if you want it. She didn't speak. Instead, she reached for his hand and held it tightly. I think, she whispered, I might be falling in love with you. Zayn leaned closer, voice barely audible. I already have. The media didn't stop. Despite Zayn's best efforts to shield Maya, the headlines returned. Sharper, louder, more personal. It started with another grainy photo, this time of Zayn picking Maya up from school. Then came a clickbait blog post about the teacher and the tech tycoon, filled with invasive speculation. Then came the worst of it. A local gossip columnist, known for exploiting private lives, published an article that sent shockwaves through Maya's school community. How much is a kindergarten teacher worth to a billionaire? They listed her salary, her apartment location, even mentioned her late father's debts, which were a matter of public record. Maya found out about it the way everyone did, through a student's parent, who whispered to her in the hall like they were sharing news of a scandal. I'm so sorry you're going through this, they said, eyes wide with curiosity. By the time Maya got to the staff lounge, her colleagues had already read it. Some gave her sympathetic looks, others looked away. That night, she broke down for the first time. Zayn found her on the floor of her apartment, back against the wall, eyes red. I can't do this, she whispered. He didn't say anything. He just sat down beside her. I can't keep pretending this isn't affecting everything, she said. My job, my privacy, my sense of self, it's all crumbling. Zayn was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, careful. I've spent the last few years hiding from the world because I thought that was the only way to protect Tarek, but I never asked what you needed protecting from. She looked at him, broken open. Do you even realize how much power you walk around with? How much weight your name carries? He nodded. And do you understand what it feels like to be ordinary in a world obsessed with status? I'm starting to, he said honestly. I'm not a tabloid cover. I'm not a story. I'm just a woman trying to do her job and take care of her brother and live without being watched. I know. Do you? She asked, because if you really know, then you'd understand why I can't. Why I might have to walk away. Those words landed like glass breaking. Zayn stared at her, his voice caught. You're saying you want to end this? She couldn't look at him. I'm saying I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive this. He stood slowly, his face unreadable. Then I'll walk away first, he said quietly, because I'd rather lose you than be the reason you lose yourself. And just like that, he left. The following days passed in a fog. Maya kept her head down, focused on her students, tried to ignore the whispers, declined every call from Zayn. Tarek's drawing appeared in a school mailbox, a crayon sketch of the three of them holding hands, standing next to a tree labeled Spy Squirrel HQ. On the back, written in messy letters, I miss you, Tarek. She cried silently in the teacher's lounge, the note pressed against her chest. Then came the knock on her apartment door. It wasn't Zayn, it was Vanessa, his ex-wife, tall, glossy, wearing sunglasses even indoors. Maya froze. Can I help you? Vanessa didn't waste time. I thought we should talk. Woman to woman, Maya hesitated, then stepped aside. Vanessa's eyes swept the room with veiled judgment. He loves you. That's none of your business, Maya said. It is if my son's involved. Maya blinked. You mean the son you abandoned for spa weekends and interviews? Vanessa smiled coldly. Touché, but things change. I've been watching the press, watching you, and here's what I've learned. You're either about to become family or a liability. Maya's hands curled into fists. Get out. Vanessa didn't move. Be smart, Maya. Men like Zayn live in a different universe. You think he's giving up his empire to play house in a blue neighborhood. It's sweet, delusional, but sweet. I said get out. Vanessa paused at the door. For what it's worth, I think he really is trying to change. But he'll never be normal. And the sooner you accept that, the less it'll hurt when it all falls apart. Then she was gone. The next morning, Maya woke up with one thought screaming in her mind. She was done letting fear decide her life. She pulled out her phone and unblocked Zayn's number. Her fingers hovered. Then she texted, "Park noon. If you're still willing." The reply came almost instantly, always. When she arrived, he was there, same bench, same weathered jeans, same guarded hope in his eyes. Before he could speak, she did. "I've been scared. I know. I thought I had to choose between the life I've built and the life you offer." He waited, but then I realized I was forgetting the most important thing. She said, "What we built together, you, me, and Tariq." Zayn stepped closer. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm not walking away," Maya whispered, "but I need this to be real. Grounded, not just a fairy tale that turns into a tabloid war." Zayn reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. She unfolded it. It was a property transfer, the house she had loved, the wraparound porch, the tree swing, signed into joint ownership. "Are you serious?" She whispered. "I don't want to own you," he said. "I want to build something with you, as equals." In every way. Maya looked up, eyes shining. "I love you," he said, "and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it's not a fantasy." She stepped into his arms, and this time, when he kissed her, she didn't flinch from the future. The first few weeks after the reunion were a quiet storm of adjustments. There were no dramatic press releases, no public statements. Zayn didn't attempt to correct the record. Instead, he made Maya and Tariq his sole priority, anchoring himself in the simplest rhythms of a life he'd never known he could have, and slowly the world got bored. Headlines drifted toward newer scandals, a celebrity divorce, a crypto crash. The feeding frenzy dulled, and with it, the spotlight faded, just enough for Maya to breathe again. She moved into the new house in phases. At first, just a few books and clothes, then furniture, then routines. Her brother, Samir, took the guest suite, his health stabilizing under the roof of a home that no longer trembled under overdue bills or peeling walls. Tariq adjusted instantly. Within a week, he'd mapped out every hiding spot in the house and declared the attic his secret lab. He started calling Maya Auntie, Mom, a name that made her laugh and tear up at the same time. Zayn, he changed in subtler ways. He started sleeping through the night. He turned off his 2 encrypted phones during dinner. He learned how to fix a leaky faucet after 2 failed YouTube attempts and 1 flooded kitchen. He even asked Maya to help him draft a resume for the first time in his life. "I want to build again," he said, "but on my terms, quietly." Ethically, the house became a home faster than any of them expected. There were movie nights on the living room floor, spaghetti Wednesdays, Tariq's dinosaur-themed chore chart, laughter that echoed in the hallways, unburdened by paparazzi or secrets. But the ghosts weren't entirely gone. One Sunday morning, Maya found Zayn sitting on the back porch with his laptop open, staring at an old photo of himself and Tariq taken during the Cypher X days. His smile in the picture was polished, empty. She wrapped her arms around him from behind. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "I just wasted so much time." Maya kissed the back of his neck. "You protected your son. You gave up everything to do that. I should have found a better way." "There wasn't a better way," she said gently. "There was only the way you chose. And it led you here." He closed the laptop. That night he read Good Night Moon to Tariq 3 times in a row, doing different silly voices each time. Maya returned to teaching full-time. The school welcomed her back with cautious kindness. Parents who once gossiped about her now praised her, remaining so grounded. Even Principal Habiba admitted she'd been too quick to judge. One day, after school, Maya found a small note tucked in her desk. It read, "Miss Maya, if I become a billionaire, I want to marry someone just like you. Love, Labor Grade 3. Maya laughed so hard she almost cried. The healing wasn't perfect. There were still flashes of anxiety when a strange car parked outside too long, or when someone snapped a photo in public, or when her inbox received anonymous emails laced with bitterness. But there was power in honesty, and in the life she was choosing every single day. Then came the call from Sarah. "Are you sitting down?" she said. "Why? There's a tech expo in Karachi next month. Guess who the keynote speaker is?" Maya's heart skipped. "Don't say, yup, Zayn Mirza." Maya sat on the edge of her couch. "He didn't tell me." Sarah laughed. "Check your email now." She did. There it was. A private RSVP invite to a black tie event with a simple note from Zayn. "I'd like to reintroduce myself to the world, but only if you're standing beside me." The night of the expo arrived faster than she expected. Maya wore a navy blue silk dress, simple but elegant, her hair pinned back with tiny golden clips shaped like leaves, a quiet nod to their park days. Zayn wore a tailored charcoal suit, no tie, his usual edge of mystery replaced by calm confidence. As they stood at the entrance of the expo center, camera lights flickered in the distance. Security moved with calm precision. "You don't have to do this," Maya said quietly. "I want to," Zayn replied. "This time I control the narrative. No secrets, no disguises." He offered his arm. She took it. They walked through the doors together. Inside, the media buzzed, but with a different tone. Zayn delivered a short but powerful keynote. He spoke not about success or fortune, but about reinvention. "Privacy is a luxury," he said, "but authenticity is a legacy." He referenced time off the grid, his struggles, his mistakes, his growth. He never named Maya, but everyone in the room knew. When he finished, the applause was genuine. Later that evening, as the two of them stepped out onto the rooftop garden for air, Zayn handed her a small velvet box. Maya blinked. "Is this?" He shook his head. "Not yet." Inside was a simple gold band, no diamond, no flash, just an engraving on the inside. "You saw me when I didn't see myself." Maya pressed the ring to her heart. Tears welled in her eyes. "It's beautiful. It's yours," he said. "No pressure. No timeline, just whenever you're ready." Maya nodded, voice thick. "I'm already there." Tariq had always been imaginative, the kind of kid who could turn a cardboard box into a spaceship or a shoelace into a monster trap. But after the storm of public exposure faded, his imagination bloomed in new directions, less frantic, more joyful. He stopped asking if the cameras were coming back, stopped waking up in the middle of the night looking for his father, stopped checking the window before stepping outside, and Maya noticed something else too, something deeper. Tariq had started looking at her differently, not like a visitor or a teacher or someone temporary, but like home. One night after dinner, she found him in the living room surrounded by pillows, duct tape, and an empty cereal box. "What's the plan, Commander?" she asked, sitting cross-legged beside him. He beamed. "It's a time machine." "Oh yeah, where are we going?" "Back to the day we met." Maya's smile faltered. "Why?" "So I can tell you to never leave the park," he said softly. "I thought you weren't coming back." Maya reached out and cupped his cheek. "I almost didn't. But you changed my mind." He looked at her like that meant everything. It did. Their days began to fall into rhythm, the kind Maya had once thought belonged only to the kind of people who lived in Instagram, perfect homes or rom-coms with guaranteed happy endings. They cooked together. Maya helped Tariq with his reading. Zayn helped Samir prep for an online certification exam. They all argued over what movie to watch every Friday night. But it was the ordinary moments Maya treasured the most, like the first time Tariq called her Mimi, without realizing it, a hybrid of Maya and Mummy. Or when she found a note in her lunchbox that read, "Thanks for being our best thing. Love the boys." Zayn had taken a step back from the public tech world again, this time by choice, not fear. He still consulted on digital ethics and privacy design, still mentored young entrepreneurs through online sessions. But his calendar was now filled with reminders like pick up Tariq's costume and anniversary picnic. Maya teased him about his Google Calendar obsession. "You know," she said one morning, "you used to run $1 billion meetings. Now you're setting alerts for glue sticks and tiffin boxes." Zayn shrugged. "You're my $1 billion meeting now." She rolled her eyes. "Corny, true. and she loved him for it, but there were deeper moments, too emotional ones that came unannounced, like summer storms. One night, as she was tucking Tarek into bed, he turned to her and asked, "Are you gonna stay forever?" The question hit her like a punch to the chest. She kissed his forehead. "As long as you'll have me." He nodded. "Good, because Daddy sleeps better when you're here, and I like it when we all eat pancakes together. Even when your dad burns them, especially then." Tarek giggled. She turned off the light and sat beside his bed until his breathing evened out. In the darkness, she whispered, "I'll stay forever." Samir, who'd spent most of his young adult life buried in anxiety and job rejections, started to thrive too. Living in a house with stability gave him the space to think clearly. He passed his certification, got a remote job with a healthcare firm, paid off one of Maya's credit cards in secret. "You don't have to take care of everything anymore," he said, handing her the receipt. Maya blinked. "You're paying my bills now." Samir grinned. "We're a team, remember, Mirza? Elahi Inc." She hugged him tighter than she had in years. Maya's school began inviting her to speak at professional development events. One day, after a literacy workshop, a parent approached her. "You're Maya, right?" The woman asked, holding her daughter's hand. Maya nodded, prepared for another awkward question about Zayn. But the woman smiled. "My daughter doesn't usually connect with people, but since she joined your class, she comes home smiling. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you." Maya blinked back tears. Sometimes being seen didn't mean being exposed. Sometimes it meant being understood. One rainy afternoon, as the house echoed with laughter from a board game gone wrong, Tarek was cheating. Obviously, Zayn pulled Maya aside. "Come with me," he said. They walked to the back room, a sunroom they'd been slowly converting into an art and reading nook for Tarek, but now it looked different. He'd added shelves, framed her degrees, set up a writing desk by the window. "What is this?" she whispered. "You once said you wanted to write children's books." He said softly, "I think it's time." Maya stepped toward the desk, fingers brushing its edge. "You're building my dream into the house. I'm building our life." Later that night, while everyone slept, Maya sat at that very desk. Outside, the rain tapped gently on the windows. Inside, the lamp cast a warm glow across her first blank page. She titled it, "The Spy Squirrel's Secret." And then, with her heart full, she wrote, "Once upon a time, in a quiet park filled with secrets, a lost boy met a woman with kind eyes and strong shoelaces. 1 year later, the house felt lived in. Really lived in the kind of place where shoes piled by the front door. Couch cushions never stayed in place, and the kitchen always smelled like cinnamon, curry, or crayons." Maya stood in the living room on a quiet Saturday morning, sipping her tea, watching sunlight filter through the curtains. On the coffee table sat a Lego dinosaur half-built, a reminder of Tarek's ever-expanding imagination. On the fridge were stick-figure family drawings, magnetically pinned between recipe cards and a school photo. She smiled to herself. She never imagined this, not a life with a billionaire, not being part of someone else's headline, not being the heart of someone else's home, but now she couldn't imagine anything else. Tarek's school had invited parents to read in class for Family Day. Maya offered, but Tarek insisted on Daddy this time. Zayn had groaned. "Do you want the whole class to fall asleep? Come on," Maya teased. "Read them something you used to read, Tarek." He smirked. "The Quantum Security Handbook." She laughed. "Maybe not." Instead, Zayn showed up at the school library with a well-worn copy of The Little Prince. When Maya peeked through the classroom window later, she saw him sitting cross-legged on the carpet, Tarek leaning against him, 21st, graders listening as he read softly, pausing to explain the words in simple terms. He didn't look like a tech mogul. He looked like a father. Later that night, they ate on the porch simple dal chawal, home-made mango lassi, and the sounds of neighborhood dogs barking somewhere far off. Samir joined them late, tossing his work bag onto a chair and sighing with the satisfaction of someone who just finished a long, honest day. "So," he said with a grin, "have we decided on a wedding date, or are we going to stay in romantic limbo forever?" Maya rolled her eyes. Who said anything about a wedding? Zayn lifted a brow. You did, last week, while yelling at a burnt roti. Tariq giggled. She said, I swear if this thing burns, we're eloping in track pants. Samir laughed so hard he choked on his rice. Maya buried her face in her hands. Zayn leaned close. I mean, I've got the track pants. Stop, she said, laughing, but seriously. Zayn added, more gently this time, no pressure, whenever you're ready, whether it's 2 months or 2 years. This. He gestured to the table, the house, the three of them. This is already everything I could ever want. Maya looked around at the people she loved most. Maybe not in track pants, she said finally, but yes, let's set a date. Later that evening, Tariq pulled her aside in the hallway. Can I ask something? He whispered. Of course. When you marry Daddy, do I call you something different? Maya kneeled to meet his eyes. Do you want to? He hesitated. I already think of you like my real mom sometimes. Is that okay? Her throat tightened. It's more than okay, she said, hugging him tightly. You can call me whatever makes you feel loved. He nodded against her shoulder. Then I'm gonna call you Momaya, he said, pulling the two names together proudly. She laughed through her tears. That's perfect. The night ended with dancing in the living room. Samir played DJ, throwing on an old school mix of 90s Bollywood, and soon they were all twirling badly across the wooden floor. Tariq spun in wild circles. Zayn tried to mimic a Shah Rukh Khan pose and nearly fell over. Maya laughed so hard her sides hurt. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't choreographed, but it was theirs. A few weeks later, they stood together in front of a small gathering family, close friends, and a few kids from Maya's class who insisted on being invited. The wedding was simple. A garden ceremony, handwritten vows, and enough flowers to make Maya sneeze for hours afterward. Zayn didn't wear a tux, he wore a kurta. Maya wore gold bangles, a rose, pink sari, and the smile of someone who had walked through fire and found the other side. Tariq was the ring-bearer. Samir gave the toast. Sarah cried harder than anyone. When they kissed, it wasn't like a fairy tale ending. It was like everything beginning again. Later, at the small reception under string lights, Zayn pulled Maya aside. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a card. On it, a sketch of a squirrel wearing sunglasses and holding a walkie-talkie. Maya laughed. What's this? He flipped it over, written in simple print. Mission, forever. Agent Tariq, Agent Momaya, Agent Dad. Park HQ approves. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at him. You kept the story alive. He smiled. It kept us alive. And then, as if by magic, it began to rain soft summer rain that sent everyone rushing under tents or into the house. But Maya and Zayn stood there, still holding each other, dancing beneath the clouds, uncaring, because they weren't afraid of storms anymore. Not when they had each other. Not when they'd already survived the worst of them. Years later, the story still started in the park. Maya sometimes walked through it alone, usually on the same path where she'd first seen a crying boy near the slide, his shoelaces untied, his world shaken. She could still see it clearly, the small sobs, the worried eyes, the quiet voice that whispered, I lost my dad. It felt like another life, because it was. Now that same boy ran ahead of her, taller now, his hair longer, his laughter louder. Tariq, slow down, she called. He turned back, grinning. Race you to the bench. Zayn followed behind them, coffee in one hand, a book in the other. He caught up, wrapped an arm around Maya's waist, and kissed her temple. You still come here, he murmured. She nodded. It's where everything changed. They sat on their old bench, now lovingly dubbed Bench Zero by the three of them. Tariq dropped beside them, holding a notebook. I'm writing a story, he announced proudly. Oh, Maya asked. What about? He grinned. A spy squirrel who protects a secret family. They're hiding from the bad guys, until they find a teacher who saves them all. Maya blinked, touched. Sounds familiar. Tariq smirked. Totally made it up. Zayn laughed. As the sun dipped low, painting the park in warm golden light, Maya closed her eyes and listened. The breeze carried children's laughter, just like that first day. Only now she wasn't sitting alone. Now she belonged, not to a man's empire, not to the headlines, not to the whispers of fame, but to a boy who called her Momaya, to a man who'd given up the world to build a smaller, truer one, to a life that wasn't perfect but real, the kind of story people think only happens in books until it happens to them.